Africa is like a flock of sheep. The Lord's voice calls, a promise to keep. The pastors and prophets failed, left them alone, but God's justice will be shown. The Lord spoke to me, Son of man, speak against the pastors, this is God's plan. You pastors and prophets, feeding yourselves, it will be very bad for you, no one else. Why don't you pastors feed the flock? You eat the fat sheep, their wool you took. You kill the fat sheep but don't care for the weak. The sick and hurt you didn't seek. Some sheep wandered, lost in despair. You didn't bring them back, you didn't care. You ruled with violence, not with love. Forgot the calling from above. Africa is like a flock of sheep. The Lord's voice calls, a promise to keep. But pastors and prophets failed, left them alone, but God's justice will be shown. Now the sheep are scattered, no shepherd in sight. They became food for wild animals in the night. My flock wandered mountains and hills, scattered all over, ignored and still. So you pastors, listen to the Lord's word. As surely as I live, the Lord God has heard. I will punish these pastors, for they left my sheep to be attacked by wild animals, no promises to keep. They killed my flock, fed themselves, ignored their duties, cared for none else. So you pastors, hear this decree. You'll no longer use my flock for your needs. Africa is like a flock of sheep. The Lord's voice calls, a promise to keep. The pastors and prophets failed, left them alone, but God's justice will be shown. This is what the Lord God says: I am the shepherd, I will search for my sheep with care and fervor. If a shepherd's sheep wander away, he goes searching night and day. In the same way, I will search for mine, save them, bring them back to love divine. From every nation I will gather them all. To the mountains of Africa, they'll hear my call. I will feed them in grassy fields, lead them to rest where their wounds will heal. They'll eat in rich grassland, find peace and home. On the mountains of Africa, no more to roam. I will search for the lost and bring back the hurt, make the weak sheep strong, in justice alert. I will care for them all, the fat and strong, as their shepherd where they belong. Africa is like a flock of sheep. The Lord's voice calls, a promise to keep. The pastors and prophets failed, left them alone, but God's justice will be shown. Africa is like a flock of sheep. The Lord's voice calls, a promise to keep. The pastors and prophets failed, left them alone, but God's justice will be shown.